When I saw a stranger holding my lost child, her whisper left me frozen in shock. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The moment my heart shattered into a million pieces. I was standing in the park, the sun shining down on me, the laughter of children dancing through the air. But my joy turned to horror in an instant, as I realized my daughter was gone. My little girl, the light of my life, vanished into thin air. Panic rushed through me like a tidal wave. I called her name, my voice trembling. Emma! The sound echoed, bouncing off the trees, but there was only silence. My hands shook, clammy and cold. I searched frantically, weaving through the crowds of families and friends. Each second felt like an eternity. Then, there she was. A stranger. A woman with wild hair, red and tangled, as if she had just escaped a storm. She held Emma close, her arms wrapped tightly around my daughter. My heart dropped. I could see the glint of mischief in the stranger's eyes, a strange, unsettling smile spreading across her face. It was as if she knew something I didn't. Mommy, Emma whispered, but it was more like a sigh. The sound sent chills down my spine. It was soft and haunting, like a lullaby but filled with something darker. I wanted to rush forward, to yank my child away from her, but my feet felt glued to the ground. Let her go! I screamed, my voice breaking as fear twisted my stomach into knots. The crowd around us fell silent, all eyes on the scene before them. I could see confusion and concern etched on their faces, but that didn't matter. All I could focus on was Emma, the way her little fingers wrapped around the stranger's arm, as if entranced by her presence. My heart hammered in my chest. The stranger leaned in closer, her lips nearly brushing Emma's ear. You want to come with me, darling? The question hung in the air, heavy and ominous. I could feel everyone watching, their breath held, their emotions thickening like fog. I took a step forward, desperation fueling my movements. Sweat trickled down my back. The world around me blurred. Let her go. My throat felt raw. But the woman's grip tightened, and for a moment, I could see the glimmer of something sinister lurking behind her smile. Emma looked up at her, confusion dancing in her wide eyes. Then I met the stranger's gaze. There was a hint of recognition, a flicker of something I couldn't place. My breathing hitched. Who was she? Why did she hold such power over my child? Before I could rush forward, the stranger whispered something, and in that moment, I felt a weight lift, as if some unseen force shattered between us. Emma looked back at me, wide-eyed, unsure. Then, in an instant, the stranger vanished into the crowd. I felt the ground sway beneath me. I reached out, my heart pounding loud like thunder. Life around me spun, colors brightening and blending into chaos. What had just happened? My mind raced with questions and fears. Where had she gone? What had she said? I looked at Emma. Her face was blank, confusion swirling in her eyes. This was only the beginning. I could feel it deep within me. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The hours that followed felt like an eternity. I clutched Emma to me as if my life depended on it, feeling the small weight of her body pressed against mine, the familiar scent of her hair anchoring me to sanity. But even in my embrace, I couldn't shake the image of the stranger's face, the wild hair, the dark eyes, the way she had captivated my daughter. It was as if something celestial had momentarily broken through the veil of reality, and now, I was left holding the remnants of a disaster I didn't fully understand. Mommy, I don't want to go home, Emma murmured, her voice small and fragile. She burrowed deeper into my arms, seeking solace that felt so elusive. The park that once echoed with laughter now felt like a haunted place, shadows stretching longer than they ought to in the fading light. What do you mean? I asked, confused. I knelt down to meet her close. We always go home after the park. Don't you want to go home? Emma looked into my eyes, her expression so earnest it made my heart ache. But she said we could play forever. A tear slipped down her cheek, and my heart shattered all over again. Who said that, Emma? I asked, panic rising in my throat. The woman? What did she say to you? She just knows me, Emma whispered, her voice trembling as she spoke. She told me I was special. Those words hung in the air like a cruel specter, reminding me of my own fears that perhaps there was something we didn't understand about ourselves, something lurking beneath the surface. A knot tightened in my stomach. How could a stranger make my daughter feel special in the way I had failed to? I stroked Emma's hair slowly, trying to combat the rising tide of dread. You are special, sweetheart, but we need to go home. My voice wavered, though I fought to maintain a sense of calm. As we made our way back through the park, I was acutely aware of the distant whispers among the people around us, their glances echoing my own unspoken fears. I could feel their sympathy and confusion pool like heavy stones in my chest. When we reached the car, I noticed a delicate object nestled against the seat, a small locket with intricate engravings shimmering under the dim afternoon light. I picked it up, my heart racing again. It was the same locket I had seen the stranger wear moments before she disappeared. The realization struck me like a lightning bolt across a stormy sky, pieces of a chaotic puzzle fitting together in an agonizing way. Mommy? Emma tugged at my sleeve, drawing my attention back to her innocent gaze. Can I keep it? No, Emma, we can't keep it, I said, my voice firmer than I felt. But as I entered the car, twisting the locket in my hands, it felt almost as if it were calling to her, promising some unheard secret. As we drove through the streets, Emma drifted into silence, staring out the window, her bright eyes dulled by shadows I feared, shadows I couldn't chase away. It was as if she had returned to some dream world, drifting further into its depths as I fought to remain anchored in reality. That night, as Emma lay asleep, I found myself wandering through her room, looking for any sign of the dark connection she had forged with the stranger. I paused, catching sight of Emma's art spread across the walls, finger-painted rainbows, smiling suns, all made with pure joy. But shadowy figures began to creep into her illustrations, twisting petals into spirals, faces into grins that bore sharp teeth. My heart raced. What was happening to my little girl? I resisted the urge to wake Emma, and instead, I sank to the floor, clutching the locket tightly in my palm. It was warm, pulsating softly as if holding a heartbeat of its own. Suddenly, a flicker of movement at the corner of my eye caught my attention. I turned, my breath hitching. A shadow crossed the threshold of the room. My pulse quickened, and I strained to focus. A figure, dark and blurred, loomed in the doorway. I felt frozen, caught in the throes of fear. Mommy Emma's voice was barely a breath as she stirred in her sleep. But her eyes, wide open, were staring beyond me, past my shoulder, into the darkness. Emma. Before I could move, the shadow spoke, a whisper gliding through the air like silk. She was special, as I said. And I will return for her. I turned to confront the figure, but nothing was there. The night was silent except for the distant thrum of my own heartbeat, echoing against the walls of my fraying sanity. Emma was still asleep, but my chest felt heavy with implications. Somewhere in the darkness, the world had shifted again. And I realized with dread that it would not be the last time. Days turned into a blur of anxiety and uncertainty. Each morning, I would check in on Emma, ensuring she was still tucked safely under her covers, her chest rising and falling, oblivious to the shadows that danced just beyond my perception. I had returned to work, but every conversation felt strained, each smile I managed a brittle facade. While colleagues discussed weekend plans, I feigned interest, my thoughts constantly retreating to that day at the park. Every time I saw a mother with her daughter, laughter curling around their shared moments, my stomach knotted in jealousy, and I would steal glances, half expecting to see that stranger, lurking just beyond the edge of familiarity. Are you okay? A soft voice broke my train of thought during lunch one afternoon. It was Sarah, a longtime friend who sensed a schism in my usual way of being. Yeah, I'm fine, I replied, pushing my salad around the plate, unconvincingly. Come on, you're not fine. You look like you haven't slept in days. Is it Emma? The edges of my vision blurred as I wet my lips to speak, but the words wouldn't come. All my fears coiled tight inside, the terror of losing her gnashing at my resolve. What happened at the park? Sarah's voice softened, coaxing the story to spill out like a secret I had been guarding. At first, I hesitated, grappling with the weight of what I would reveal. But the need to share surged within me. And so, I unfolded every detail. The stranger, her compelling gaze, Emma's uncharacteristic longing, the look at me words racing faster than my thoughts. I watched as Sarah's expressions flickered through concern, disbelief, and finally, understanding. Maybe it was just a woman who noticed Emma's spirit, she suggested gently. She could have been drawn to her innocence, but she said she could come back for her, I replied, my voice cracking with the ember of panic. What if she does? I can't lose her, Sarah. I was enveloped by my own desperation. What if Emma's bond with this woman was not innocent? I could cling to the hope that it was a fleeting moment, but deep down, there was a root of fear that told me it might not be over, that the stranger's words were more than a hollow promise. Later that afternoon, when I picked Emma up from school, I felt the tension in the air grow thicker. She bounded toward me, her smile bright and untainted, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. She was slipping, like sand through my fingers. Mommy! She squealed, launching herself into my arms. I squeezed her tightly, inhaling the scent of her hair, her laughter a balm against my fraying nerves. How was your day? I asked, hoping to connect, to find that thread of nostalgia woven into the tapestry of our lives. It was good. We learned about butterflies today, she exclaimed, and momentarily, my heart swelled with joy at her enthusiasm. That sounds wonderful. Did you make any art? I pressed, wanting to immerse us in her world of colors. Yeah. I made a butterfly that looks like the one we saw at the park. A chill raked across my skin. The memory of that day was still raw. Can I see it? Emma hurried to retrieve her backpack, fumbling with the zipper before pulling out a crumpled paper. She unfolded it with pride, revealing an intricate drawing that set my heart racing and my blood running cold. The butterfly bore not only colors of spring but also strange markings, protrusions, almost like delicate hands that seemed to beckon from its wings. Do you like it? She asked, her eyes sparkling with hope. It's beautiful, I mumbled through dry lips, desperately trying to conceal my unease. The imagery, the markings felt eerily tied to the stranger, making my stomach lurch at the implications. As we returned home, an uneasy silence settled between us. Emma's chatter about butterflies and their magical transformations faded into the background, swallowed by my spiraling thoughts. That night, I gazed down at her as she snuggled under the covers, a peaceful angel in the dim light. But sleep eluded me, every creak of the house deepening my anxiety. Sometime after midnight, a soft tap echoed through the stillness, the sound like a heartbeat against the silence. My heart raced. What could it be? Cautiously, I descended the stairs, each step feeling heavier than the last, a weight of apprehensive dread settling in my chest. Then I saw it, the locket, resting on the kitchen table, glowing faintly as if it had a heartbeat of its own. A knot twisted in my stomach as I lifted it. My fingers tingled from its warmth. I was about to turn back when the back door creaked open, slowly, deliberately. The air thickened, and a familiar whisper brushed past my ear like a phantom. I told you I would return for her. Fear rooted me to the spot. My heart raced, echoing that unspoken terror. The night had become suffocating, each breath punctuated by dread as I faced the unknown. I stood, the locket heavy in my hand, unsure of what was about to unravel. The world bent around me, an unreal distortion of reality where shadows flickered and every creak of the house felt like the prologue to a tragedy. The whisper reverberated through my bones, a chilling reminder that the threat looming was more than an echo of my fears. I was encased in a moment that felt both infinite and unbearably fleeting, a space where time folded in upon itself, trapping me in the awakening terrors. Gathering what fragile courage I had left, I stepped through the doorway toward the sound that had shot through my heart like an arrow. My mind screamed for Emma. How could I stand there paralyzed? But the grip of dread held me fast as I processed the eeriness of the scene. The moonlight spilled through the kitchen window, illuminating the figure just beyond the threshold, impossibly familiar, yet so foreign. Who are you? My voice wavered, thin and shaky, as I fought to reclaim my footing, the kitchen tiles sticking to me like glue. With a figure, her silhouette dark against the night, turned, unveiling a face that was hauntingly beautiful, yet veiled in an otherworldly aura. Everything within me screamed for protection, for safety, for my child. I told you I would return for her, she repeated softly, her words a melody interwoven with malice and an embrace that made the very air thick with dread. In that moment, I grappled not with the stranger's intentions but with the realization that she was somehow interwoven into our lives, an unseen thread drawing taut around our fates. It took everything in me not to bolt back upstairs to Emma, to shield her from this apparition that seemed pulled from my deepest fears. "Why?" I asked, half in defiance, half in desperation, my heart racing against the clock of inevitability. "What do you want with her?" An unsettling smile danced across the woman's lips, the kind that suggested knowledge far beyond my comprehension. "She understands me. She's special, just like you." The implication pricked at my heart. Maybe I was the one too afraid to embrace all that we could be. A flicker of doubt made my chest ache. Life, with its harsh edges, had always come at us with an iron fist. Was I projecting my fears onto my child's innocence? "No," I said, shaking my head, dispelling those thoughts. "She's just a little girl. You can't take her away from me." The plea in my voice was evident even to my ears. I was more afraid of feeling than of the woman herself. As if sensing my vulnerability, she advanced a step closer, her eyes shimmering with an uncanny glow. "They'll be back when the time is right. This is merely the beginning." Each word dripped with a certainty that made my blood run cold. She flicked her gaze toward the locket I still clasped tightly in hand. "As long as you hold that, you will know, and you will understand." Before I could even muster the strength to protest, she dissolved into the empty night, a wisp of smoke snuffed out by an unyielding breeze. I stood rooted in fear, clutching the locket that swung like a pendulum in my trembling fingers. With my heart thudding, I rushed upstairs, fear eclipsing every rational thought. The door to Emma's room before me felt like a fortress. Would I find her sleeping soundly, unhurt and unaware of the visit from the dark? I pushed it open, inhaling the familiar scent of her room, untouched by the night's phantom. A sense of relief washed over me as I gazed at her peaceful face, intricately framed by the glow of the moon. But then, my heart plummeted. Scattered across her slumbering body were paper cuttings, butterflies, too many to count, all decorated with the same unsettling markings as the one drawn in school. My breath caught, a suffocating knot tightening in my throat. They surrounded her like a protective barrier, or perhaps a trap, whispering their secrets only the night could hear. I gathered them up, my fingers trembling as I tore through each fragile art piece, my mind darting between Google searches for strange occurrences and hidden meanings. And then, as I reached the last one, my heart plummeted further. Written in childlike scrawl were the words, "Mommy. She's coming." In that moment, as a new wave of chill washed over me, I understood. This was not just a love for whimsical beauty. Emma knew something I did not. Whatever bond laced her to that stranger was darker than I could fathom. Panic gripped my chest as I envisioned the woman's words, her promise to return, this anticipation lingering like an ominous shadow. I stared at Emma's sleeping form, wrestling with a fear that bubbled like a storm about to unleash its fury. How could I protect her from something she seemed to invite? A fear so profound it made each heartbeat echo against the fragile thread of our reality. I cradled the locket, the flickering light casting reflections against the walls, each one dancing ominously like a warning beacon. That night, as I held my daughter close, I realized the truth. The real battle had only just begun and the stranger was far from finished. I just didn't know then how profoundly the night would change our lives. The winds howled outside, an unearthly chorus that echoed the turmoil inside me. With each gust, I felt the weight of those cutouts, an ethereal reminder of the connection between Emma and the dark figure who had invaded my life, a figure who seemed to know more about us than I ever could. The moonlight bathed the room, but it felt cold, stripped of its usual warmth, as if it too were an accomplice in this haunting game. I spent the night watching over Emma, my mind racing with thoughts I could hardly contain. Thoughts of the woman, the locket, the words that filled me with dread. What did it mean that Emma had conjured these images? Had the woman truly returned to claim what was hers? Or was all this a projection of my own fears, twisting reality into something sinister and unfathomable? Sleep eluded me, and as the sun began to rise, I was drenched in a sort of uneasy clarity. I needed answers. I needed to understand this woman, this stranger, who seemed woven into the very fabric of our lives. But where could I even begin? Logic spiraled away from me like smoke in the wind. In the hazy morning light, a flicker of hope emerged, a chance encounter from the sunset of my past. There was a woman, an artist, who lived a few blocks away. She had a talent for capturing the intricate world of childhood in her artwork, often working with themes that delved into the fantastical and the darkly beautiful. Maybe she could help me decode the message behind those butterflies. With Emma still nestled in her slumber, I stepped outside, the chill in the air cutting through me like a razor. My mind was alive, every detail around me amplified, the scent of wet leaves from the last rain, the cheerful chirruping of birds oblivious to my turmoil. I forced myself forward, seeking purpose in each measured step. As I approached the artist's quaint, ivy-clad home, a reminder of starlit conversations and vibrant laughter flooded back to me. The stories we shared long ago about creativity and life, the connection between art and the unexplainable. I knocked, heart racing, as the well-worn memories of friendship crackled around me like static. When the door swung open, I was met with a familiar face, though partially shadowed by a cascade of curls. Elena's eyes widened, a mixture of surprise and concern washing over her. "I wasn't expecting you. Is everything all right?" I stepped inside, struggling to suppress the rising tide of emotion. "I need help. It's Emma. There are things I can't explain. I think someone is coming for her." The words poured out, a floodgate opened, and as I spoke, I could see her face shift. Drawn into my fear, Elena led me into her studio, walls lined with paintings that spoke more than words ever could. I began to explain Emma's drawings, the visit from the dark figure, the haunting promise made. Elena listened attentively, her brow furrowed in a mix of sympathy and curiosity. "It sounds like she's connecting with something powerful," Elena said quietly. "Children often have an openness to the world that we lose as we grow older. You may be underestimating what Emma truly feels." "But why butterflies? It doesn't seem right," I blurted out, frustration cracking my voice. "Why would she create something that feels so ominous?" Elena took a deep breath, stepping back slightly as if searching for the right words. "Butterflies are a complex symbol. They can represent transformation, beauty, and even fragility. But they can also signify change that comes with darkness. It sounds like she is processing something extraordinary." The warmth of her understanding broke through my fear, if only for a moment. "So it's not just a nightmare?" I asked, my heart clinging to the flickering thread of hope. "You think this could be a call for help?" Elena nodded thoughtfully. "There could be a greater purpose behind her drawings. Perhaps she is trying to warn you of something that you both sense but can't fully articulate." Before I could respond, a sudden noise snapped my attention. A crash came from the back of the house, too thunderous to ignore. We both hurried toward the source, a commotion erupting, an unnerving sense of urgency hanging between us. The air thickened as we reached the back door, and I could feel my heart pound in sync with the distant echoes of dread. When I opened the door, the sight before me sent a shiver racing down my spine. A cluster of butterflies, vibrant against the chilly air, filled the garden, spiraling in an ecstatic frenzy. But amid the chaos, something caught my eye, forcing my breath to hitch. One butterfly hovered just above the ground, shimmering with a strange luminescence, and right at its center, a small, familiar scrap of paper was tightly clutched. "Mommy, I'm here," I heard Emma's voice whisper faintly through the tumult, but it was shot through with an echo that wasn't her own, and just then, the world around me twisted again, and the darkness crept closer. I realized, too late, that whatever bond Emma shared with that woman, it had begun to deepen far beyond the limits of my understanding. How could a simple morning have already spiraled into this overwhelming darkness? As I lunged to reach the butterfly, it darted away, leading me into shadows from which there would be no easy escape. The world grew dimmer as I stepped forward, desperate to reclaim my daughter and to banish the specter of the stranger who silently orchestrated our fate. The garden erupted around me, a whirl of color and chaos, but it felt as if time had slowed, elongating each heartbeat into a tense eternity. Emma's voice hung in the air like a distant echo, intertwining with the fluttering wings of the agitated butterflies. I strained to push past the overwhelming swirl of panic that threatened to rip me apart from within. "Emma!" I shouted, panic fueling my every move, but my voice felt weak, dissipating like smoke. The butterfly I had spotted flitted just out of my reach, each color flash taunting me with a promise of something I desperately sought. "Let's go inside," Elena urged softly, her hand encircling my wrist. "We can think this through. She might just be daydreaming, but how could I?" The sense of urgency clawed at me like a physical force. "I can't just stand here. She needs me." I wrenched my arm from her grasp and dove into the throng of butterflies, my heart racing as I followed the trail of the luminous creature that seemed to lead me into darkness. As the fluttering symphony intensified, I felt something shift in the air, an unearthly cold swallowing me whole. I reached out, desperation driving my every move, grasping at shadows cast by the chaotic dance of wings. Then, as if the universe had conspired to silence my cries, the butterflies parted briefly, and there, in the open space, stood a woman cloaked in shadows, every detail sharpening into silhouette against the bright burst of color around her. My breath hitched as I realized this was her. The figure from my nightmares. The familiar face that spoke of unutterable dread. Her hair fell like dark cascades around her face, and I could barely make out her features, but the intensity of her gaze pierced through me. "Emma?" I called again, but my voice faltered, thin and fragile against the overwhelming weight of uncertainty. Slowly, ambling towards her, was my daughter. Her small hands were stretched out before her, reaching for the woman with an innocence that sent shivers spiraling down my spine. "Mommy, I found her," Emma proclaimed, her voice full of wonder, as if she were revealing a grand secret. "She knows everything. No." I broke through the haze of awe that enveloped both the woman and my daughter. "Emma, come back. You don't know her." It was as if my heart tore from my chest, each syllable of dread falling into the gaping chasm that separated us. The woman turned towards me, the world swirling as she raised a hand, fingers illuminated by an unfamiliar glow. "You have to understand," she said, her voice like a soft breeze, both haunting and achingly familiar. "I'm here to help her." "She is special more than you know." "Help?" Rage ignited within me. "You're not going to take her from me." "Look closer," the woman said, an unexpected tenderness threading through her words. "You cannot shield her from her destiny. She must embrace her truth, and in doing so, your bond will only strengthen." "No. She's just a child." I felt the anguish claw at my insides, battling against the weight of her revelation. I was not ready to face this, not now. Tens of questions swirled in my mind. Who was this woman, and what was it she knew of Emma that I did not? But before I could voice another thought, the butterfly, shimmering and radiant, swooped low and disappeared into the shadows cast by the stranger, leading my daughter deeper into obscurity. Panic surged anew, a visceral reaction to the sensation of losing her, the only piece of light I had in this darkening world. "Emma!" "No!" I lunged forward, driven by a primal instinct to protect, but the shadows folded around them, making my arms feel useless. It felt as if a wall of night enveloped my senses, blocking my vision and swallowing my screams. Then a flash of memory burst, vivid and splintered. It was an evening filled with laughter, Emma's hands covered in paint, a tiny canvas lined with butterflies, their wings perfectly colored but eerily similar to the ones that now surrounded me. The realization hit me like a thunderbolt: those weren't just futile sketches. They were a map, a call across dimensions I had never even dared to conceive. A voice bright with familiarity broke through the darkness, faint yet crystalline. "Mommy, it'll be okay. I promise." But how could she promise something she didn't fully understand? How could she willingly step towards the unknown while I stood frozen in despair? Before I could weave my way through the murky veil, the scene flickered, transforming into an eerie void of silence, and I realized that not only had Emma entered a realm I could not follow, but somehow, I could feel the pull of that woman's gaze growing stronger. Draped in enigmatic shadows, holding my breath, I reached out again, summoning the last thread of my waning courage, desperate to pull her back. But even as the darkness receded, I felt something deeper, a force pulling at my very soul, whispering promises and fears entwined in the vibration of the universe we inhabited. The woman's smiled a celestial smile that made me question everything I thought I understood, and before I could form a coherent thought, a pull surged through me. In that fleeting moment, as the shadows embraced Emma once more, a revelation crashed through me, a truth that shifted the very ground beneath my feet. What if she wasn't just Emma's captor? What if she was also the key to discovering the power nested deep within my daughter, a darkness that had yet to be fully acknowledged? As desperation threatened to consume me further, I could feel the weight of her whisper etched into my bones. "Embrace your truth," she told me, and the world continued to spiral into shadows, leaving me gasping for answers I was not prepared to face. A shroud of silence engulfed me as I stood, panic gripping my heart in a vice. The world around me was a fluctuating tapestry, a vivid clash of colors now stained with a haunting twilight. Uncertainty cocooned my mind, each thought spiraling into a dark vortex where hope was a diminishing flicker of light. Emma, I whispered, though the name felt foreign on my tongue, weighed down by the shadows that danced around me. My heart raced, a wild drum echoing through the emptiness that separated me from my daughter. Time felt elastic, stretching farther and farther away as I longed to breach the barrier that now stood between us. The woman, cloaked in her swirling shadows, remained unmoving, watching me intently with those deep, knowing eyes that seemed to contain galaxies within their depths. "You should be careful what you wish for," she murmured, her voice spinning around me like an ethereal melody. "Sometimes, embracing one's truth means confronting the darkest corners of oneself." Each word resonated, laced with an inkling of truth I didn't want to confront. I yearned to shield Emma from everything, every shred of darkness I knew existed among us, but the reality was that love, raw, unfiltered love, did not come without its shadows. "Step back!" I shouted, my voice shaky, emotions clashing like thunder. "Leave her alone." But my threats were feeble, mere echoes trapped in the expanding chasm that divided us. The remnants of the once vibrant garden now felt desolate, as if reality itself had been drained of color, leaving only an oppressive void that pounded in my chest. Then, a soft touch rested upon my shoulder, unexpected and warm amidst the chill. I turned to see Elena, her eyes wide with concern yet fiercer than before. "She'll find her way back," she assured me, her presence solidifying a flicker of hope that threatened to glow brighter. "Whatever that woman is, she's not the enemy you think she is. Do you think I don't know fear?" I shot back, tears pooling, threatening to spill. "What if this is a trap?" "Emma she could find her true self," Elena replied, unwavering. "The truth is powerful, even when it's cloaked in shadows." I wanted to argue, but the conviction in her voice struck a chord deep within me, fighting against the panic that consumed my sanity. The truth, so often whispered in the quietest of moments, echoed louder against the backdrop of my despair. What did I truly know of destiny? And who was I to deny her? As I watched the shadowy figure extend her hand toward Emma, the unknown still marinated in fear, something unexpected happened. An unexplainable warmth radiated from that connection, twisting into a kaleidoscope of emotions that shifted something deep inside me. In that touching moment, my thoughts flickered to the guiding light within every crease of Emma's laughter, every spark of creativity. My heart tugged, the celebrations that awaited her dreams, her joys held vibrant tapestries woven with threads of love stronger than my fears. "Mommy, look!" Emma's voice rings out amidst the chaos, pure and innocent, like sunlight breaking through a storm. "I can fly!" A radiant butterfly, luminous and golden, emerged from the shadows, swirling around them before landing gently on her outstretched fingers. I stood frozen, feeling that sliver of fear slip towards hope as Emma gazed into the eyes of the woman, trust emanating like waves of warmth. But just as quickly as the tide turned, it crashed back into despair. An unexpected thought pierced through the state of awe. What if the woman knew more about our connection than I did? What if embracing this shadow led Emma to some truth that could tear us apart forever? No. It was a cry of raw despair, a howl that reverberated in my chest. "Emma," but neither the woman nor my daughter seemed to hear me. Instead, as Emma giggled in delight, surrounded by butterflies rejoicing around them, a wave of dread washed through me. The golden light emanating from the butterfly began to dim, swirling into smaller pieces, fading fragments sparked by some unseen force that threatened to extinguish their glow. "Mommy?" Emma's face fell, uncertainty creeping into her voice, pulling me further into the depths of fear. The sparkle in her eyes dulled, clouds seeping into our moment of light. "Please," I murmured, desperation coating my voice. "Don't go with her. Don't walk into the shadows." But as I reached for Emma, the shadows thickened, swirling vigorously around them, pulled into an almost sentient storm that blinked with explosions of light and dark, a chaotic dance that rendered my cries swallowed by the chaos. Elena gripped my hand tightly, dragging me back into our shared reality. "It's not over. We have to fight for her." Her resolve ignited a flicker of what we stood to protect, a flicker that urged me to take action instead of standing paralyzed. But just when I thought I might break through the shadows, a whisper filled with chilling intensity sliced through the tumult. The woman's voice wrapped around me, "You cannot run from the truth, nor can you protect her from it. It is inevitable." A sharp gasp escaped from my lips, terror clawing at my insides, until a swirling vortex of shadows enveloped Emma and the mysterious woman once more. I lunged forward, but the shadows surged, pushing me back, a barrier stronger than my will. In that final moment, I understood. The truths I feared were now clawing their way to the surface, and as the shadows began to construct themselves into a fortress around Emma, the depth of my reality shifted once more. "Mommy, help me!" Emma's voice echoed, filled with a mix of fear and trust, wrapping itself around the walls of my heart. The last flicker of golden light dwindled as the shadows descended, plunging me into a darkness pregnant with the weight of unfulfilled promises and unimaginable truths. Time stood still, and with a haunting jolt, the force propelled me into shocking awareness. Whatever awaited us on the other side of this battle might fracture our very essence, and now, with trembling hands and fractured hopes, I stood at the precipice, lost between shadows and the entwined love that defined my existence, doubting everything I thought I knew, consumed by the dawning realization that the fight for Emma's soul was only just beginning. The shadows pulsed like a living entity, tendrils coiling around the swirling storm that threatened to engulf everything I held dear. I felt my heart pound against the walls of my chest, a primal fear threatening to squeeze the breath from me. I could almost hear the haunting echoes of my daughter's laughter being swallowed by the encroaching darkness. "Emma!" It was a raw cry, clawing its way out, desperate and helpless. I positioned myself as a shield, as if my mere presence could turn back the tide of shadows that enveloped her. So much lay ahead in the unknown, and all that remained in my grasp was the flickering hope that love could foster resilience in the face of unfathomable odds. Do you really think you can save her? The cloaked figure asked, each syllable laced with a taunting melody that grated against the fragility of my spirit. You hide behind fear, believing that love is enough to protect her. But what if your love is the very thing holding her back? Her words tumbled around me, coiling through my mind like smoke, threatening to suffocate my resolve. Could it be true? Had I been so blind to her needs that I hadn't allowed Emma to fully explore who she was? Anguish sliced through my thoughts as I considered the suffocating grip of my fears. Suddenly, a shooting star burst overhead, a flash against the shadowy backdrop. Its brilliance held a strange beauty, igniting a forgotten spark within me. A beautiful memory of Emma as a baby, cradled in my arms, reminded me of the joy she brought not only to my life but to those around her. I could almost hear her squeals of delight, both innocent and free. "Emma!" I called again, my voice trembling yet steadying, filled with a fueled determination that lifted the weight upon my shoulders. "You are so much more than my fear. You are bright and full of potential. I believe in you." The shadows momentarily flickered, as if my words struck a chord within that brimming tempest. I pushed through the fear, determined to confront the truth that lurked in the depths of this struggle. I recalled that spark in Emma's laughter that called every person who met her to embrace life fervently. "You can fly," I repeated, echoing her own words. "You are stronger than this." A sudden surge broke through the darkness like a fresh breeze piercing suffocating humidity. The shadows hesitated, swirling, then loosened their grip for an instant. It was a blink of a chance, a moment of clarity rippling through me. Elena squeezed my hand tighter. "Don't stop. Keep reaching for her." I felt the connection between us forming a lifeline, pulling me back into the moment. I continued to chant Emma's name, weaving a tapestry of hope that stitched together memories and belief. Each heartbeat echoed with the mantra of a mother's love, all-encompassing and powerful, transcending even the gloom swirling before me. In that chaotic swirl, I caught a glimpse of Emma, her eyes searching for mine, a tinge of fear breaking down the sparkle that usually lit her gaze. She was so close, yet trapped, caught in a delicate dance with the shadowy entity that loomed beside her, whispering sweet yet sinister promises. "Emma! You are safe, sweetheart. Follow my voice." Her eyes widened, holding a spark of recognition, a flicker of the unwavering bond between us. I watched as she hesitated for just a second before taking a tentative step back, shadowed by doubt but defying expectations nonetheless. Yet, in that moment of revelation, the woman's deep, mellifluous voice cut through. "You think this is the way forward? You think you can sever us without knowing the truth? Your connection it is the key to unlocking her potential. But this key was never meant to rest solely in your hands." A pulse of uncertainty surged through me, doubt twisted tightly inside. What did she mean? This connection was born from love, from sacrifice, and I would not lay it bare before this unknown force. But what if I never knew the entirety of Emma's truth? What if by trying to protect her, I imprisoned her spirit instead? Each thought dug deeper, bringing my own insecurities to the forefront. "Mommy, I don't know what to do. The tremor in Emma's voice shattered my heart. I felt the shadows tightening again, a tug-of-war claiming not only my daughter but the very core of who I was as her mother. The cloaked woman tilted her head, the ethereal light illuminating her face for the briefest of moments, revealing hints of something familiar, a trace of compassion and pain. It's not too late. All things are connected, truths are woven into the tapestry of your lives. Every wound. Every joy. Embrace the mosaic, or it will consume you both. As her words lingered in the icy air, a brilliant warmth coursed through me, as though the collective love I had for Emma surged like fire, illuminating every shadowed corner of my heart. Come to me, Emma. I won't let you go. And then, just as I felt triumph brewing within my grasp, an abrupt roar echoed through the shadows, engulfing everything in a tempest of chaos. I staggered back, clutching Elena's hand tighter as the shadows writhed, distorting the landscape around us into a dizzying whirl of darkness. No. I couldn't lose her now. But cradled within the storm, I also felt the chaotic glimmers of love bouncing back to me amidst the shadows where hope dared to tread. Just as the darkness surged to overcome us, a piercing scream sliced through the atmosphere, a sound so achingly familiar that it sent ice coursing through my veins. Mommy! The earth beneath us shuddered, the shadows roared as if answering her call. And in that moment, the truth shattered all barriers. It slashed through every fear, rippling outward, leaving me breathless with realization. Was this woman merely a harbinger of what I had feared the most, or did she hold the very key to Emma's liberation? Time suspended again, the carnival of emotions whirling around Med Reed, urgency, love, and as I pushed against the darkness with all my might, I knew we would have to explore the intricate fabric of truth woven into the shadows, or lose everything. And then, I heard a dreadful whisper that sent tendrils of ice through my being, the deafening silence that followed. You cannot escape the truths hidden in the dark, only embrace them. The shadows thickened, and just as the urgency reached its zenith, I staggered forward, the last pieces of light glowing faintly within my grip. What if, at that moment, the struggle was not solely about reclaiming my daughter but about uncovering the very truth I had left buried within my own heart? The pull of darkness threatened to swallow us whole, pushing forward like an oncoming tide, where hope and despair collided. And as the shadows loomed ever closer, I cast a final glance toward Emma. Her eyes widened with love and fear, entwined in a precarious balance, and then, in a heartbeat, everything shifted again. Hidden from view, lay secrets woven through our Lavisa revelations so profound that it threatened to tear us asunder. Just when it felt like hope danced on the edge of light, the finality of silence embraced us, promising that the battle was far from over, and the shadows had yet to reveal the darkest truths of all. I stood in the eye of the storm, my heart racing wildly against a tide filled with uncertainty. The chaos around me morphed as fear and love collided, creating a tempest that suffocated like a heavy fog. In that unsettling stillness, I could feel the echo of Emma's voice lingering, a pleading whisper that gnawed at the edges of my determination. Mommy, help me. Please. I forced my eyes open, trying to discern the shape of my daughter amidst the rising shadows. And then, through the haze, I saw her. She shimmered like a flickering candle at the end of a dark and hollow, radiant figure against the billowing clouds of despair. Yet, what made my heart flip in my chest was not just Emma in her brilliant essence. No, it was what stood beside her, a stranger, a woman cloaked in despair, the shadows clinging to her figure like a shroud. She was leaning down, her presence both comforting and terrifying. Emma looked small beside the figure, dwarfed by those sinuous tendrils that circled her waist. My breath caught in my throat as a primal realization slammed against my resolve. No! I shouted, lunging forward, my heart echoing like a siren. But my feet felt rooted in place as if the very shadows wrapped around me, pulling me back toward that swirling vortex of darkness. Leave her alone, but the stranger didn't move. Instead, she turned her gaze to meet mine. I felt exposed under her knowing stare. In an instant, an overwhelming wave of recognition washed over me, a deep familiarity that disoriented my rational mind. Her striking features mirrored Emma in a way that made my stomach churn with unease. Let her go. I yelled, but the words fell like leaves against a gale wind. Mommy, I'm scared. Emma's voice trembled, and I fought against the grip of despair settling around my throat. Stay close to me, Emma. I pleaded, my voice straining against the chaos surrounding us. The cloaked woman moved, and in that moment, the shadows shivered, swallowing the space between us. You need to understand, she said, her voice a delicate whisper, edged with sorrow. I am but a reflection of the truths you both have buried. I cannot harm her, I am here to free her. Free her from what? I demanded, the words tumbling out with desperation. From you, or from me, from the fears that bind you both of you, she responded, her gaze penetrating. You hold tightly to the love that has become a chain. But, my dear, it also limits the potential she carries within. No, I protect her. Everything I do is because I love her. I felt the heat rising in my chest, stoking a fierce fire built from the ashes of my insecurities. Love is not a shield, the woman replied softly, her tone unwavering. It can become a prison, suffocating true growth. You bind her with your fears, and with that, you both remain lost. Her words danced dangerously along the edges of my understanding, unraveling threads of doubt I had woven into my motherhood. What if my relentless guarding was as much a prison for me as it was for Emma? Time twisted, and within it, shadows danced, and hope fluttered. I felt Elena beside me, her grip as steady as the love I tried to exude for my daughter. You must believe in her, she urged, her voice a gentle anchor amidst the chaos. It's not about letting go but empowering her to rise beyond your fears. Could I do that? Could I let my daughter flourish, even if it meant confronting the darkness woven into our shared story? Emma! You are more capable than your fears. I shouted, breaking from the grip of doubt, wavering but strong. You have the strength to face whatever is in front of you. The shadows flickered at my words like tiny stars igniting amidst despair. Emma met my frantic gaze, her own filled with uncertainty but lit by a flicker of hope, a spark that echoed the fire within me. Then, the cloaked woman stepped forward, brushing her gloved hand against Emma's arm, and I nearly lost my breath. Your connection to one another is powerful, but you must be willing to embrace the truth that lies hidden in your heart, she whispered, her voice a haunting melody that both terrified and entranced. Wait! I called out, a wave of urgency churning through me. What truth? What do you mean? She paused, casting one final glance toward me that twisted my heart into a tight knot. The truth is that she's not just your daughter, the love you share transcends the boundaries of this life. She is connected to something greater. Embrace that connection, and she will find the strength to break free. At that moment, another tumult surged from the shadows, and in the rising darkness, I sensed something shift not just in the shadows but within my very being. Emma turned to me, her eyes pleading, desperation breaking through her fear. Something was brewing beneath the surface of those words, something I felt more than understood. The shadows began to constrict again, mocking our attempts to break free. I could feel the weight of their intentions, heavy and maleficent, waiting for the moment to strike Emma. I shouted, the catch of panic rising in my throat. Please, trust me. You have the power. Together, we can face this. But just then, the cloaked figure moved with uncanny speed, the dark tendrils snaking closer, and I heard a low throaty chuckle that sent chills down my spine. Very well, let's see if love indeed can shatter the darkness, shall we? But know this, dear mother, the truths that bind you shall be your downfall. As the shadows surged, I had only moments left to act. I felt the ground beneath quaking, a desperate breath escaping as I realized if she were telling the truth, the key to Emma's liberation flickered dangerously close, entwined in the darkness. Hold on, Emma. I'm coming for you. And just as I lunged, a blinding light erupted from the heart of the shadows, a brilliance so fierce that it enveloped us, leaving nothing but the echo of our intertwined fears and lingering whispers that dared to challenge everything I believed. In that instant, I realized that the truth was not an enemy but a bridge that could connect us to the light that flickered behind the shadow's veil. And as the blinding glow began to envelop us, an unexpected surge of warmth pulsed through my veins, promising a revelation that could change everything. For in the depths of fear, there was also a flicker of hope, but only if I dared to confront it, poised on the precipice of the unknown. And just when I felt the moment reach its zenith, engulfed in blinding light and rising shadows, a new voice broke through the tempest, a whisper that stood out among the din. Don't forget who you are. Time froze, suspended on the edge of revelation, and as the shadows loomed larger, I realized with chilling clarity, the truth I faced would not only test our love but redefine everything I thought I knew about myself and the bond we shared. The world around me began to unravel, the fabric of reality slowly tearing apart at the seams. What had once felt like a struggle for Emma transformed into something much more profound, a reckoning with every fear, every doubt that made a home in my heart. I stood there, engulfed in that bright light and surrounding shadows, feeling the echoes of countless memories flood my mind, the laughter, the struggles, the moments of connection and separation, all intertwining into one intricate tapestry. As the whispers cascaded around me, calling out my insecurities that intertwined with my love for Emma, I felt the warmth of those memories pierce through the chilling grip of the shadows. I could hear Emma's laughter breaking through the chaos, the pure sound, a beacon guiding me back to the essence of who we were, together, Mommy. She cried out, her voice breaking through my haze. It was laced with both fear and a yearning that pierced my soul. The shadows twisted, threatening to swallow her whole, but I could see her standing, resolute, her small frame trembling but alive with a glow that felt almost otherworldly. In that moment, everything clicked. A truth so powerful began to emerge from the depths of my hidden fears. I am here. I yelled, calling out to her, a desperate surge of love propelling me forward. Emma, listen to me. You are never alone. We are connected beyond this moment, beyond the darkness. You have the strength inside you to rise. I didn't fully understand what those words would ignite, but I felt their weight, echoing within me. The shadows recoiled for the briefest instant, their grasp on Emma faltering as the light pulsed, swelling between us like a burning star bursting forth from a dying universe. The flickers of golden luminescence swirled into butterflies surrounding my daughter, encircling her with warmth and a sacred glow. Emma turned toward me, and in her wide eyes, I caught a glimpse of something profoundly beautiful. Mommy, help me. She pleaded again. For a fleeting moment, panic surged through me, cutting deeper than the shadows pressing around us. But then I remembered the connection we shared was a tapestry woven with threads of strength and love transcending time and space. It was the love that had made us whole, an anchor that could weather even the fiercest of storms. What if I told you the truth? I shouted, my heart racing. What if I told you the shadows could never have you, because you were so much stronger than they are? You are my light, Emma. And you have the power within you to overcome anything. The shadows shifted, dark tendrils slinking back, hesitant against the force of my words. The cloaked woman watched, a trace of surprise flickering across her face. Love is powerful, but so is fear. She warned, her voice low and foreboding. You think you know the depths of your bond? You have yet to face the darkness that lurks within you both. Perhaps, I replied, a newfound fearlessness surging through me. But facing it is precisely what gives us strength. Emma, you are not just a reflection of my fears, but of all that is beautiful in this world. Emma's eyes shimmered, her spirit responding to my declaration. She stepped forward, breaking free from the grasp of shadows inching toward her. I can fly. The light surrounding her burst into a whirlwind of colors, washing over the darkness and illuminating the space between us, creating a barrier against desperation. And in that reckless moment, something shifted, and understanding blossomed within the shadows. They writhed and twisted as if in reach of something they could not grasp. A flicker of recognition passed through me, a struggle that had transgressed time, a struggle for not just Emma's spirit, but for my own. Suddenly, the cloaked figure spoke, her voice laced with sorrow. You cannot hide from the truth forever, it is woven into the fabric of who you are. And for the first time, I felt empathy for her, seeing the echoes of my own insecurities mirrored in her eyes. Fear can consume you, I replied, my voice softening. But in facing it, we carry hope. Love and fear exist together, intertwined, but we choose which one to embrace. In that single affirming moment, the shadows paused. Their movements hesitated as if the weight of realization pressed against them. Emma's glow flared brighter, the golden butterflies swirling around her growing, lifting her higher as she defied the darkness, believing fiercely in the love we shared. Mommy, I'm not afraid anymore. She beamed, the clarity of her resolve burning bright within her. My heart soared at the sound of her laughter mixing with the light that chased away the tendrils of doubt. She held on to that light as if it were everything we had whispered to one another, the dreams we shared while painting her future together. I shouted, extending my hands toward her, drawing our connection closer than ever as the warmth spread between us like sunlight after a storm. Together we can embrace our truth, not as shadows but as the beauty we create. The cloaked figure began to dissolve, shadows receding at the brilliance erupting from Emma. You do not understand what it means to unlock your true potential, she persisted, but her voice carried less weight. You are merely delaying the inevitable, but it didn't matter. The shadows lost their hold, swirling around aimlessly, retreating from the undeniable connection forged between mother and daughter. With each word of affirmation, the bond grew stronger, the love we held illuminating the darkest corners, fueling an unstoppable force. Let's let love guide us, I called. Together we will unlock the doors beyond these shadows. And slowly, as the tendrils withdrew, the cloak of dark began to dissipate, revealing light in its wake. In an incandescent burst of energy, the world transformed. The shadows melted away, and in their absence lay a garden bursting with vibrant colors, blooming flowers stretching toward the sky. Emma stood tall, her laughter the sweetest song, her spirit free from the chains of the past. "Mommy!" She laughed, glancing back at me, and the light of pure joy radiated from her being. "Look what we did! We broke the darkness." Tears streamed down my cheeks, blending with the warmth of the sun breaking through the remnants of desolation. "Yes, my love, we did." I spoke hoarsely, filled with awe for this moment, an indelible memory created from our shared triumph, and as we stood side by side, encased in light, the shadows so utterly vanquished, I knew the journey had changed us both. The truth had set us free, embraced by love, recognized in struggle. We learned that even in darkness, there lies the potential for light blooming bright. As the vibrant garden erupted into every hue imaginable, we faced the universe, our laughter intertwining. There was no darkness left, only the echoes of a powerful truth remaining. Love isn't just an answer, it's the journey we take together, through all shadows and into the light. And that truth would forever shine bright, the whisper of my daughter resonating within me, an everlasting warmth. "Mommy, we can conquer anything as long as we believe in each other." Together, we embraced the light, reflected hope soaring high, rendering every shadow a thing of the past.